When I first met Jason, I thought I had finally found someone who could truly understand me. We met at a mutual friend's housewarming party where he caught my attention with his easygoing charm and quick wit. He was 33, working in tech, and seemed to have a grounded sense of humor that I found refreshing after long hours spent navigating the high-stakes world of corporate law. I'm 29, and I've been a corporate lawyer for 6 years. My work is demanding and sometimes emotionally draining, but I love what I do. Jason and I clicked almost immediately. I remember our first conversation at the party vividly. We were standing by the snack table and he made a joke about how lawyers are always on the case, even when they're off duty. I laughed harder than I'd laughed in weeks. We spent the rest of the evening talking about everything, from our career struggles to our favorite childhood movies. By the time we left, it felt like we'd known each other for years. That connection felt rare and effortless, which is why I let my guard down so quickly. Our conversations were engaging, and his perspective on life seemed to balance out my more serious demeanor. He made me laugh when I needed it most, and I felt like I could finally exhale when I was around him. So, after a few dates, I let my guard down. I started to think this relationship could be different, but now, 4 months in, things have started to feel off. It wasn't anything drastic, no big fights or dramatic revelations. Instead, it was a series of small moments. The way he'd pull away during conversations, how his laughter seemed more strained, and the subtle shift in his tone when we discussed future plans. Something unspoken lingered between us, a tension I couldn't quite name. And it all began with a single word, resourceful. Jason has this habit of describing his friends as resourceful. It's something he does casually, like saying someone is funny or kind. For example, he once said his friend Emma, a doctor, is resourceful because she can provide medical advice. Another friend, Matt, is resourceful because he owns a house near Jason's alma mater and occasionally lets Jason use it for weekend getaways. At first, I brushed off the term, but then, one evening while we were having dinner at his apartment, he said something that struck a nerve. "You know," he said between bites of his pasta, "I wouldn't really call you resourceful." I stopped mid-chew, the fork hovering near my mouth. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. He shrugged. "I mean, you're smart and hard-working, but resourceful? Not really, it's not a bad thing, it's just not who you are." His words hit me harder than I expected. I've always prided myself on my ability to handle difficult situations and find solutions in high-pressure environments. I'm the person people turn to when they need help navigating complex legal matters. But here was my boyfriend, casually dismissing that part of me. "I don't understand," I said, putting my fork down. "What makes someone resourceful, in your opinion?" "Someone who's good at solving practical problems," he replied. "Like knowing how to fix things or having connections that can help in different situations. So, because I'm not a handyman or don't have a Rolodex of useful contacts, I'm not resourceful." I could hear the defensiveness in my voice. "It's not about that," he said, leaning back in his chair. "It's just a different way of being. You're more analytical. You overthink things. Sometimes you focus too much on what could go wrong instead of just figuring out a way to make things work." Around this time, I was dealing with a challenging case at work. My client, a major corporation, was facing a lawsuit that could cost them millions. I had been working late nights, meticulously preparing our defense strategy. I'm known for my attention to detail and my ability to anticipate the opposition's moves. But Jason's comment made me question myself. Was I too focused on potential problems? Was I overly critical? One evening, my colleague Sarah noticed I seemed distracted. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just tired," I lied. "You've been killing it with this case," she said. "Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." Her words were meant to be encouraging, but they only deepened my internal conflict. A few weeks later, Jason invited me to a family gathering. His parents were warm and welcoming, and I enjoyed meeting them. But during dinner, Jason's mom shared a story about how resourceful Jason was as a kid. "He always found a way to get what he needed," she said proudly. Jason beamed at the compliment, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Was I not capable of the same? Later that evening, Jason pulled me aside. "You've been quiet," he said. "Just tired," I replied again, but he saw through it. "Is this about the resourceful thing?" I nodded. "I can't stop thinking about it." "Why would you say that?" He sighed. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I guess I just see us differently. You're a planner, a thinker, but sometimes you get stuck in your head. You criticize more than you appreciate. His words hit a nerve. So, you think I'm negative? I think you have a tendency to focus on what's wrong, he admitted, and it makes it hard for me to feel appreciated. I was stunned. I'm critical because I care. I want things to be right. Isn't that a good thing? To a point, he said. But when you're always pointing out flaws, it's exhausting. It feels like nothing I do is ever good enough. After that conversation, I took some time to reflect. I reached out to my therapist, who helped me unpack my feelings. I realized that while Jason's comments hurt, there was truth to them. I do have a tendency to focus on potential problems and overlook the good, but I also realized that Jason's perspective was limited. He valued certain traits, like resourcefulness, that didn't align with my strengths, and that's okay. We all have different ways of contributing. In the end, I decided to have an honest conversation with Jason. I've been thinking about what you said, I told him, and I see where you're coming from. But I also need you to see me for who I am, not who you want me to be. I do see you, he said, and I care about you. But maybe we need to figure out if we're really compatible. It was a hard conversation, but it was necessary. We agreed to take a step back and reevaluate our relationship. This experience taught me a lot about myself. It made me realize that personal growth often comes from facing uncomfortable truths, and that understanding how we navigate relationships can shape our emotional resilience. In the end, we all deserve to be valued for who we truly are, not just for how we fit into someone else's expectations. I learned that while it's important to listen to feedback, it's equally important to know your worth. Relationships are about balance, appreciating differences and finding ways to support each other. Whether Jason and I will make it in the long run, I don't know. But I'm committed to growing, both for myself and for whoever I choose to share my life with.